And I'm joined right now by Aleksander Olech from Defense 24. Dr. Aleksander Olech, thank you for joining me very much today.
Huge pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Now we're talking about the Wagner Group, and it's because you just did a fantastic paper concerning the Wagner Group in Africa. And so let's go ahead and start off. I think a lot of our viewers, if they know the Wagner Group, they probably remember Yevgeny Prigozhin. Now he's gone. He's been gone for quite some time, and so we thought that might be the end of the Wagner Group. Is that the case?
He's gone, nevertheless. Some symbols still are in Africa. For instance, in the Central African Republic, he has own monumentum. There is a statue that represents the Wagner, but at the same time there is a wall where people can go and cry and just think and also commemorate Prigozhin. So those things, those reminders about the Wagner Group and the pillar, who's the head of the Wagner, Prigozhin, are still among the Africans people. The biggest issue for us is that when we think about Wagner, it's not about one person, it's about the whole community that is supporting the Russian mercenaries. So Prigozhin was just created and given to African citizens, let's use this name, and then was given to particular countries because Prigozhin strongly cooperated with the Central African Republic. He was seen in Libya, and he also tried to cooperate with countries such as Mali and Burkina Faso. But Prigozhin was a surface, was a person used just to talk about Wagner and also to promote Russian mercenaries organization in Africa, just to convince people to join this organization, to earn money, but simply to realize the interest of the Russian Federation. So Prigozhin is gone. At the same time, the Wagner Group is gone per se. It means they are planning to change name and become Africa Corps. At the same time, some mercenaries change their groups. For instance, they went to Redwood Group, they went to Wolf Group, they went to many other groups, or they set up own companies or groups. The biggest challenge for us is that all those groups are under the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, and at the same time they're realizing either the interest of the Russian Federation or the interest of mercenaries. So when we perceive a particular country in Africa, we have on the one hand the Russian Federation, on the other hand some mercenaries, and among them we have white people that consists of Russians, Georgians, Ukrainians, any other nationalities, and then we have people from Africa, from different countries, because the migration inflow is huge. And Russia decides either they go with Russia as a state or they go with mercenaries. So Prigozhin is gone, but now they have this capability of controlling those mercenaries, those groups, and then those mercenaries in Africa, they are under the MOD, but they can carry out own activities. For instance, take care of transport routes, take care of resources. They're carrying out special operations, including killing. At the same time, they are controlling particular areas. So they are thinking about ransom, about just simply taking money for protection, so security group. Wagner simply became a tool and even another armed forces for the Russian Federation.
So now, the Wagner Group in Africa, has it changed, has Prigozhin's death changed the way it functions in Africa at all, or has the operations just been continuously ongoing?
So the operation has been continuing since the end of Balkan mission, the French mission, or under the French command. So Western countries realized that it's strongly difficult to carry out those anti-terrorist activities and at the same time face Russian influence, Chinese influence, Iranian influence. So France decided to withdraw their soldiers, as the US did with Afghanistan. And then the Russian Federation saw we have the Sahel countries, where we have huge tensions between the military and the political parties. So Russia entered those countries such as Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea, and they decided to support militaries. So juntas did those coups, and then Russia became the main pillar and the main protection unit for those presidents or those people who are in power. At the same time, France decided to leave, so we have a space. And this space is filled by mercenaries, terror organizations, United Nations peacekeeping missions, and also Western countries. So we have a huge mess, let's be honest. So Russia planned it very well, because we cannot say that Western countries are losing in Africa. It's not true. However, they chose particular countries just to build their influence. Those weak countries without democratic values, without human rights, they choose countries that are collapsing. They are the glimpse of just simply being completely destroyed, but they supported militaries, and then they are trying to rebuild their power. They have support from the Russian Federation, for instance, grain, military supplies. And then we have a fight between Western countries and Russia that it supports simply those African states. And you ask me about the strategy, what was before Prigozhin. And this is the idea that now Russia is building its African corps, and this African corps allows them to hire simply people from Africa. Those who are in particular countries are very poor people, because they are living without single dollar per day. They are just begging for food, and now there's a chance to join the army, join mercenaries, and earn money. So Russians simply asking them, offering them opportunity to join army, to join Wagner Group. So this is very useful material, and it was the long process that is now having a top level of operation, because now they are creating the body not only for the Wagner but the whole Africa Corps. And the challenge is that they are offering this money, this weapon, for the poorest one. And Africa in general is asking for cooperation from the European Union, and the European Union at the same time the US could provide with money, but we expect something in exchange. We expect to have human rights, democratic states, to follow our rules. But those countries cannot do that, so they decide to choose the Russian Federation and also take credits, to take loans simply, because China has credibility, but they are taking loans from China. And in the end, we have states that are completely 100% towards China, the Russian Federation, and it's difficult to reconvince them that Western countries are those who are better, who can offer more, because what will happen? We will again talk about recolonization of the African soil. We have colonization now, we have to repeat this action. We don't want to do that. We don't want to have those countries who are against Western countries, so now we're offering them diversification. And for some countries, diversification, it means the same time cooperation with the European Union countries and with the Russian Federation.
So do you believe that this poses a threat for Western influence in Africa? Do you think that this problem, if left unchecked, can boil over and get out of control? What should the West do about it?
It's extremely difficult to measure how much money the Russian Federation has already earned on their presence on Africa soil, but recent numbers from Sudan are about $15 billion only from gold, and it's Sudan. Then we have many resources in Chad, Niger, again gold in Mali. So Russia is using those resources in Africa just to finance their malicious activity, mainly in Ukraine. So this is a huge challenge for us. We have to stop Russia from using these resources in order to carry out military activities in Ukraine. For example, special ops groups from Ukraine went to Sudan. You can check it on Google. Special operations group from Ukraine, and they started fight against Wagner in Sudan. They did the same in Mali. So we have many challenges, but three the biggest challenges. First of all, there are resources. We don't want to exploit them. We would like to cooperate with African countries. For instance, Poland, we have huge privilege. Many of our professors, engineers, experts, they had been working in Africa for the past 40 years. Secondly, many missionaries, representatives of Christianity, we are there. We are supporting those tribes, those groups, those people. And then we didn't have any colony in Africa. So when we talk about Poland, we are a great market for them. We can exchange, we can trade. But the biggest challenge is to engage there. That's why we should use support and help of Western states. So the thing is, we have to be more engaged with Western partners. So a challenge for us in order to just prevent Russia from being that present and just use those sources for their needs. Secondly, we have to communicate with those countries, accept that they have their expectations, their needs. And finally, we have to understand that diversification of energy resources, in general, diversification of bilateral agreements, it means that Africa will be, and African countries are going to be our partners. So if Russia is there before us, it means it will be extremely difficult to cooperate with some countries. That's why we have to be before them, just to start the race and show our presence. And I reckon the US, the French Republic, the UK, they already understand it because they are facing Russia on daily basis. And for Poland, it's now a huge challenge because we have war in Ukraine and we cannot be that engaged in Africa. But last thought, if France and the US will face many challenges in Africa, they are going to ask themselves, okay, we have to deploy more soldiers there instead of having them on the eastern flank zone. That's why this international cooperation, NATO, the European Union, it means we are globally active and we are globally facing threats.
Wow, fascinating. Well, Aleksander Olech, thank you for giving us that story and pointing out the threat of Wagner in Africa. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a huge honor. I hope see you soon.